Strongholds are still being moved.
Mountains are still being moved. With the faith of a mustard seed, you can speak to the mountain, and it shall be removed.
Bodies are still being
Wonders are still being done. I want to talk about giants. I want to talk about giants because no matter who you are in life, no matter how saved you perceive yourself to be, there's a giant that's in your life that's taunting you, taunting your family. It is a giant that is speaking against the purpose of God in your life. It is a giant that dares to defy the word of God in your life. And it's a giant that you cannot pray away. You need to listen to me. I'm speaking to somebody. You cannot pray this giant away. You will not fast this giant away. You will not confess this giant away. This is a giant that you're going to have to fight. And I want to talk about the move of God to face down giants. Of course, I'm going to go to the place where most people go when we talk about giants. The ruddy boy named David, who comes up against a slanderous giant. Goliath was not just a person, he was a regime. He was not just a man, he was a symbol. He was a symbol of everything that had gone wrong for Israel. He was a symbol of an obstinate barrier that would not move. And though the children of Israel wished it to go, they had remained as the Philistine people, a thorn in their side. It would not move. And Goliath was not just big, he was mouthy, and he was loud, and he was taunting them. And there is something in your life that's taunting you. You might be able to live with a giant that's silent, that will sit in the corner and shut up. But what I'm talking about is a giant that's in your life that is speaking against you. It is speaking against your finances and speaking against your children. It is speaking against the very word that God has spoken over your life. It won't prevail, but it's speaking against it. And it is causing you consternation, just as Goliath caused the people of God consternation, because they recognized that there was no way around Goliath. He would have to be faced. Like a schoolyard bully that you know you're going to have to fight eventually. Lunchtime is going to come. It's for so long you can hide behind the teachers and go from period to period in the schoolrooms, and maybe you'll miss them. You know eventually lunch is going to happen and recess will take place and the dismissal will occur and you're going to have to face them. And this is the place where we find the children of Israel standing against the people of the Philistine army. But what I love about it is that David did not just face the Goliath, the giant, the circumstance. The writer of 1 Samuel takes careful attention to paint the picture before us and says that David ran to the battle line to meet Goliath. Oh! God, give us people who will move toward the thing. God, give us people that will not shrink in the face of adversity, who will not hide behind the facade of religion, who will not mask themselves with the anesthetization of religion, but they will face the enemies of God. Will you move toward the giant? This is a move. That's what the song says. This is a move. This is a move. This is not something that's just serendipitous. It's a move. It's a shift. 2020 was a move. The shutdown was a move. COVID was a move. Do not be deceived. This was not just a natural occurrence. The earth reflects and echoes what is spoken in the heavens. It's a move. The question is, will you move? Will you move to the thing?
Stuck on their shoulders, the woman said.
Will you move to the thing that's trying to move against you?
There's a move happening in this room.
It's a move.
And I don't know what you need.
It's a move.
Whatever it may be.
Solomon wrote in the book of Ecclesiastes that a man who doesn't know a season is like a fish out of water. Do you notice? It's a move.
God is moving up and down these aisles.
And people are saying, we're going back to normal. Things are happening. We're opening back up. This is a move. The earth has shifted. The heavens have rotated. Don't you see what's taking place? It's a battle.
This is a move. Do what you do. This is a move.
Will you move to the thing that other people are running from?
This is a move.
Will you move to the thing that is warring against you? Can I go further and warring against your family and your people and your children? Because if you don't face it, it'll come after your children. By the time David comes on the scene to face Goliath, Goliath's people had been a thorn in their side for hundreds of years. One need only read the book of Judges to recognize that the children of Israel had been dealing with the Philistines for longer than they've been dealing with the Egyptians. And there is something that you're fighting in your life that your father didn't have the courage to fight. And his father didn't have the courage to fight. And the question is, are you going to keep pushing it down the line, or will you face the giant? Goliath was not the first Philistine that came up against the armies of Israel. And in fact, we are told not just about Goliath, but about his family. His whole family had been doing it. Don't you understand that you're wrestling not against powers and principalities, against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and rulers of darkness of this age? You're wrestling against things which are trying to vanquish your entire line. And you keep pushing it down the line and pushing it down the line. And your great-grandfather and your grandfather didn't deal with it. And your father didn't deal with it. And your mother went through it. And your grandmama had to deal with it. And nobody fought the giant. And nobody won against the giant. And everybody ran against it. And now it's come to you. And my question is, will it stop with you, or will you move to the battle line? Will you move to the battle line? Will you move to the battle line? David runs to meet Goliath. And he defeats Goliath. But that's not the end of the story. David had been anointed king in his father's backyard. But it was the battle that brought him to the attention of the world. Your battle with Goliath is what's going to bring you and your family out. And because David had the courage to face Goliath, we're told that it was not long before the people were clamoring to make him a king. And he would become a king, unlike any king before or since, whose line would never end. For out of David comes the Christ. And it began with the move toward the battle line. And I declare and decree over your life, if you will run to the battle line, that God is going to do something spectacular in your life.